Now let's continue working with files in Python, and first of all let's make the very first step. So when you start programming, the first phrase you write is hello world, and now we'll do the same, but we'll write it in the text file. So in order to open a file, we'll use a function called open in Python. So the first argument will be the way or the path to the file, and the second one will be the mode. So this mode could be for recording or for reading. And by default, everything is opened for reading. So when we create the new file, there will be an error if we create it for reading, but it will be created if we create it for writing. So therefore, let's create a file hello.txt. So as we see, there is no mistake here. It is created. Now let's write some text there with a function called write, and let's insert the text there. Okay, so it says everything is right, and now let's close it. So if we want to avoid f.close, we can use such construction. So we open our file and we say that it's called f, and then it happens the same way. So it does it in the same manner. And if we want to write a number, then we will have an error. So it will say, oh no, it should be the text. So therefore, we can use the function fdid. We can check what we wrote there. So we wrote hello world, and it's strange because here we did it 2 times, and we did it also here. We opened the file and we wrote something there. But there is one phrase. So the problem is when we open the file for the recording, for writing, when we use the regime W, it rewrites. So in order to write it in the end, we need to use the regime A, and then it happens automatically. So instead of the method f.read, so instead of this function, we can use the function add.readLines. Then this function will automatically detach the lines into the list and will then correctly place them. And then if you need to delete the symbol switch the line, you need to do it by default on your own. And here I use one function where we actually need to use read lines. Here we have several files which we need to attach line by line. And here you need to write your own code. And there, this is a result. We have such chart in the end. So with the function open, we can open any files, pretty much. And moreover, we can open files which we cannot translate into the text. So for example, we can read models framework, and in this case we use a special function called B. So B stands for binary, and it looks like that. So we use mostly the text files, and we use them all the time. I used it last time when I was working with students' essay. So each essay was in separate files, and you need to read them, and you need to combine them in a table, and you need to create a model which will define them. And yeah, now let's talk a lot about CSV files. They are a table, and we have several tables in machine learning. It could be all statistical data. So statistical data, for example, of age, gender, and people who survived Titanic crash based on their gender and age. And we have such competition in Kaggle, and in order to do that you need to work with CSV files. So the lines here can be separated by moving to the next line, and we defined numbers by separating them with a comma. So if we write the table in a file, it will look like that. And now we'll do this. This is our table, and we write it in the first line of the file. we open table.csv file, and we will write the symbol of moving to the next line, so because array doesn't move to the next line. Then we will write each line into the file by creating it as a text. And so we got what we thought we would get, and now let's check that everything is correct. Okay, everything is ready. Alright, yes, we got everything. Now let's get our information back, and we need to use the reduplix. So we read the lines, we define the file, and then we choose the columns and we choose the data separately. And then we got what we wanted to have, and now let's turn the data of neural network into the text, and then we have the original chart. And here we have some homework task. In order to check that you understand, you need to create two tables and then read the text and compare with each other. And so in one file we need to separate lines with enter, and the second file will have a separation with a comma and a dot. And so you need to add the code here, so code to create a chart, and here the code to read this chart, and then we'll have this thing in the end. So here you need to see that somebody gained weight or somebody lost weight. If we look that if one chart shows the age of 15 years old and the second one shows 20 years old. Then let's talk about JSON files. They're very useful to show hierarchical information about the cities and the restaurants in them, for example. So, for example, White Rabbit has Michelin stars and other restaurants don't have them, and because it has the very famous founder. And we don't need to store this information in the chart, but we can use the dictionaries to store such information. Therefore, we import the library, and in order to insert this information into JSON, we use json.dump. So here we have the first argument is the data that we want to insert, and the second argument is the file. So we can have dictionaries in JSON, and also we can have the lists as well. So they can be inserted if you really like it. And now, in order to get a dictionary out of this file, we need to use this function json.org. So it will reverse and will create a dictionary from this file. And now let's check again that everything works. Okay. Okay. Yes, everything is working. And now I also saw JSON files when I was doing the project about geotagging, and we need to look up the website and get the geodata. And I got the data in JSON format. So there was several objects, and I had some organizations, and there was the geodata, so the altitude and coordinates. Now you can use this data to build some data analytics. So this is basic analytics, and you can get into more detailed analytics using the pandas. Thank you for your attention.